When it comes to the Halloween season, I get super excited. Not only is it a wonderful time of expression, but society as a whole seemingly brings what I consider a staggeringly underutilized genre of exploring human emotion and introspection to the forefront of the mainstream. Horror. That's not to say that there aren't the juggernaut of the genre, just that when it comes to bigger budget, and usually Western releases, horror seems more of an excuse to release a half-baked trope-juggling fustercluck than a genuinely compelling experience. Today, on this wonderfully spooky night of the year, I wanted to relive the pieces of media that I've found that have had a lasting impact on me. The tales that allowed the inner machinations of my mind to be given form before my very eyes. Maybe you haven't heard of these specific things before and you'll want to give them a try, or perhaps you've already experienced them before, and what I'm about to reminisce about will bring those memories lingering in the recesses of your mind back to the forefront. I've tried to keep my thoughts as concise as possible for brevity's sake, but with how convoluted some of my explanations will be, there may be some rambling involved. Also, a few warnings. Firstly, if you haven't played or watched any of what I'm about to mention, feel free to skip ahead to a different chapter, as I'll be talking about key plot points you may want to experience firsthand. I will mention the titles before covering the subject, so you'll have enough time to plug your ears and skip around. Secondly, this isn't a list of moments where something popped out and jump scared me. This is stuff that genuinely frightened me, so if you're prone to existential panic attacks or the like, I recommend watching with a friend or in a nicely lit room. I'm not sure this video will even be monetized, so any interaction you could give the video would be ultra appreciated. Also, be sure to subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, as I try to highlight media that I find worth talking about. Now, let's jump headlong into my own psyche while wildly oversharing on the internet and talk about the media that brought my fears to life. Let's start with something rather simple, Atychiphobia, better known as the fear of failure. I'm sure this is something a lot of us can relate to. Failure is embarrassing. It eats away at your psyche and tells you that you're not good enough or ever will be. The specific type of failure I think a lot of us are so afraid of is the fear of failing a large or important task. The weight of a heavy burden placed upon our shoulders by those that feel we are capable of performing that task, only for them to realize that you didn't have the right stuff. The fear that all of your struggles will be in vain, despite your best efforts. The original Pikmin for the GameCube is a rather unforgiving game, where simple mistakes can cost you the lives of so many of your little Pikmin that rely on you for guidance. Every life lost, a little soul flutters away, a stark reminder of a mistake or risk that came up short. Olimar has 30 days to get his ship in working order, lest his suit's air supply functions run out and he perishes to the atmosphere of the alien planet he crash-landed on. But the area is rife with monsters of great magnitude and trials of staggering proportion. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask tasks you with saving an unfamiliar land from an unknown and seemingly unstoppable threat. All the while, those that you are desperately fighting to save seem unwilling or unable to help. 3 days is all the time allotted to you to come up with a plan to stop everything from falling to ruin. Luigi's Mansion sees Luigi, a skittish and fearful counterpart to his brother Mario, tasked to rid an entire mansion full of specters and ghouls in a single night, or see his brother disappear forever. What makes these games scary for me is not the weight placed upon the character's shoulders. By God, it's actually necessary to create a tense scenario that compels us as players to want to continue playing and see these stories to their end. The terror comes from the fact that the possibility of failure is realized in-game if you fail. The developers saw through with their threats of destruction, and you get to witness the ramifications of your inadequacy. Olimar runs out of time and is forced to attempt to escape the planet. He tries and fails, his ship careening back toward the ground, dying as his lungs are filled with toxins. The Pikmin gather his corpse and, just like everything in this strange world, recycle it. Olimar never returns from his ordeal, and his family will never know what happened to him. Link, despite his best efforts, fails to save Termina in time. The moon that has been above the town, glaring below with a face twisted to convey every negative emotion simultaneously, crashes into the town, killing every living thing. Link is alive for just long enough to see his efforts literally crash and burn before him, only for him too to be swept away in the carnage. Luigi's Mansion doesn't have a bad ending, but it almost did, and discovering this end screen spooked me in a way I can't really fathom. Luigi is ejected from the mansion, either possessed by some spirit or dejected that he wasn't able to save his brother in time, and will have to watch the mansion disappear, his brother inside, probably confused and terrified. The hero of the Mushroom Kingdom lost to some trick, and the only person with the power to save him failed. Seeing these scenarios play out is something so mind-boggling. It truly is the bad end, and I think that most of us never expect to experience something so heinous or life-changing. But as someone who's gone through a divorce, that beast is sometimes closer than you'd ever imagine. Reality is sometimes the scariest boogeyman out there. When I was just a child, a family friend passed away. I don't think I ever personally knew her too well. We were just neighbors, and my parents visited them a lot. During her funeral, there was an open casket viewing. My parents wanted closure for her passing, so we walked by to see her body. The first time I ever pondered my own death was then, and it wasn't really a comforting thought. I remember having nightmares at the moment that I passed by her body, where she would open her eyes and grin at me, sometimes grabbing me and pulling me into her casket. A few more years down the road, my dad's father passed away. I don't say my grandfather because, again, I barely knew the man. We never spoke. The only time I ever saw him alive was when he was comatose in a senior care facility. For my dad's father's funeral, they wanted to have a slightly more flashy proceeding. Me and my brother, alongside two people I didn't know, were chosen to be pallbearers. For those of you that don't know, pallbearers are those people that carry the casket to and from the funeral proceedings. Yet again, I was very, very close to the cold body of someone that I didn't know, as if I was but mere inches away from meeting the same fate or being gazed upon by eyes no longer human. That's why the regenerators from Resident Evil 4 are so terrifying to me. Your first encounter with them is as you pass them by as one lays on a gurney, its large gray body unmoving. Yet you wouldn't want to catch yourself anywhere near one despite how motionless it is. Later on, you can even find them in a lab's freezer as if they're in some sort of morgue. The moment your guard is down, they reanimate, slowly shuffling towards you with strange noises as if they're grasping with the very state of their being. You can pump a ton of lead into these things, and they'd still find a way to continue creeping ever closer, never satisfied until they've devoured you. That's not even to mention the Iron Maiden, which is an advanced form of a regenerator, appearing as if the damned thing went to hell and back, unwilling to truly return to the pit until they've taken you with them. Trauma Center is a series I'd love to talk about on the channel at length, but for now, I'll just say that it's surgery. But anime! It's also a really good series too, to try to track down some of the games. There's a moment of downtime in the story of Second Opinion, where your character, Derek Stiles, is shown into the back room of a prestigious medical facility. This whole time, you've been fighting an organization hell-bent on wiping out the weaker population of the Earth with openly hostile and egregiously lethal viruses. And it's only when you're led to a specific human capsule that you're met with this. Within the tube lies the body of the main villain, emaciated and ghostly. He's described as no longer being able to breathe and that his blood has ceased flowing throughout his body, yet it refuses to decay. It's also said that he's only technically dead, just not alive. Imagine a monster before you, motionless, yet their eyes never seem to stray from meeting yours. It's like the feeling you get when you walk by a cardboard cutout or a picture where the eyes follow you no matter what angle you look at it from, only it's the cadaver of someone you'd never want to meet in your entire life. This would be all fine and dandy if it wasn't for the fact that in the hardest trials of the game, your medical crew is replaced by Adam, and he talks to you. and I do not like that one bit. Perhaps this is a form of necrophobia mixed with a bit of scopophobia, though I wouldn't classify my fear directly under either category. It's just the idea of being near corpses puts me off, especially strangers' corpses, and the nagging thought in the back of my head that they could animate at any point. A great example of this would be the Dead Marshes from The Lord of the Rings, a battleground filled with the remains of those that perished there. An entire marshland filled to the brim with unknown people, all with just a thin layer of water between you and them. Gazing upon the bodies while these lights are lit compels one to join them, and the moment you enter the water, the tortured souls in the deep seem all too eager to keep you there, like demons from hell. In deep space, the Star Fox team are on the hunt for the villain Pigma, as he holds an important item that will aid them in their fight against the Aperoid threat. After tracking his ship to an under-construction base in deep space, they discover Pigma has been infected by the Aperoids and assimilated into the base itself. The old Pigma is gone, and now a monster remains to wreak havoc on the cosmos if left unchecked. I don't think it's uncommon for someone to fear being devoured. Most of us don't exactly consider being mauled by a wild animal a great way to go. And it's specifically this fear that keeps me from enjoying the ocean at all. Seriously, do not take me to the beach. I will not be swimming at all. Apparently, this fear is known as Phagophobia, though in my case, I lean toward the more existential aspect of the term, of which my research has yielded no specific word. So if someone knows the exact term of what I'm about to describe, please let me know in the comments below. I fear being forced to become something I do not wish to be forcefully transformed into something against my will, or to be assimilated into something I wish not to be. A fate worse than death, at least in my opinion. Especially if that transformation puts those that I care about in danger. I think about stories like Marvel Zombies, where Spider-Man succumbs to an infectious bite from Steve Rogers and becomes unable to fight off the need to feed his new hunger. Every person near him becomes nothing more than a way to satisfy an urge, and it's only after his feast of the ones closest to him does he understand the gravity of what he's done, what he's become, and how he'll have to live with himself for eternity. I think the story that adequately explores both aspects of this fear is, of course, the Chimera from Full Metal Alchemist. Sho Tucker is a man desperately trying to prove himself as an alchemist in the field of bioalchemy. As a way of showing that his field of research has merit in order to receive funding as well as his state alchemist license, he produces a chimera capable of human speech. As the years went by and his research yielded no notable strides or results, as well as the upcoming possibility of not being able to keep his license, Sho Tucker does the unthinkable. He merges his young daughter and the family dog together to form yet another chimera capable of human speech, trapping his beloved daughter in a form that is a complete bastardization of life itself, and had even done the same to his wife 2 years ago, becoming a monster and hurting those close to him, all for the sake of continuing his research. Nina, his daughter, too, becomes a monster, though she had no say in the matter, and is now doomed to be trapped forever in a form that is unbecoming of even the lowest of the low. Proditiophobia is a word I didn't know existed until researching for this video. It's described as the fear of being betrayed, and it's something I can identify with. This is different from pistonthropia, which is the fear of trusting others. So why am I bringing this up? Until Dawn is a unique experience, one I hope to cover at a later date, but for now, let me set the scene. You and your friends are trapped in a mountain estate, under siege by a terrifying monster known as a Wendigo. One of your friends turned enemies was left behind in a shed, and not one to leave someone to die, you heroically team up with a man with a flamethrower to go rescue him. After heading to the shed and not finding your friend, the Wendigo attacks, leaving you to run for your life back to the lodge. You make it, only to find the door to safety locked. The girl that you had a crush on staring back at you through the glass. You lock eyes with her, and it hits you. She is not going to open the door. You flash back to a moment prior when it was a choose who dies situation. You had the gun. You choose to save her and end your own life, only for her to beg you to do the opposite. You oblige, after already having to make one difficult situation today that resulted in your best friend's death over hers. Back to now. She watches with hollow eyes as you are torn apart by the Wendigo. Your relationship meant nothing. She never thought she would ever have to sacrifice anything for you, and every phrase implying this was cold, chillingly unfeeling lies. The Wendigo may be a horrifying monstrosity, but for this moment, the girl on the other side of the door is the monster. The first time that I witnessed this cutscene, I had a genuine panic attack. The feelings of trust that you can direct towards someone and the power that that has over you can sometimes go unnoticed. But when that trust is broken, it shatters you. I had another example of this using the second honeymoon short film within the first VHS movie, but it's far too graphic to show on a simple YouTube video. Give it a watch if you're in the mood to want to vomit and question how you could ever trust someone again. I think I'll end this video with probably the dumbest thing I could ever say. I'm scared of bad people. That is to say, I am scared of people that have no concept of morality, using whatever power that they possess to bring harm to those around them. The whimsy of being a loose cannon with no constraints or empathy is something I think is terrifying to consider. I think Dead by Daylight's description of Michael Myers puts it together in perspective the best. Some humans are simply bad seeds infused with a distilled and pure form of evil. I think of a creature like Avatar: The Last Airbender's Ko, a spirit with the body of a giant centipede, and the ability to steal the faces of those that show emotion whilst conversing with him. It's not evil because it has an agenda, it's just doing whatever its whimsy desires, satisfying the sick impulse to ruin the lives of those it tricks whenever it gains the chance, showing its complete lack of care by stealing the face of a previous avatar's beloved as an act of spiteful defiance. But the absolute pinnacle of this archetype of chaos incarnate would be the masterfully crafted psychopath and narcissist, Junji Ito's Tomei Kawakami. Tomei is a young woman blessed with incredible beauty and popularity as a result. She's also an unstoppable force of nature and a devourer of souls, using her lust for perfection, acceptance, and the desire for dominion to bend those around her to her will. She's an intoxicating enchantress, able to fulfill someone completely by being the object of her affection, only to leave them shattered and jaded after she abandons them. It doesn't help that she can regenerate from even the smallest bit of gore and even create multiple copies of herself from scattered remains. She's so volatile, so competitive, so mind-bogglingly toxic that she even considers her own selves a threat, unwilling to rest on her throne of corpses until she's the last remnant of beauty remaining in the world. A true sycophant, Tomei weasels her way into any good-natured community and violates it, turning good people into monsters and casting them aside once she's had her fill of them, like a toddler growing bored of a toy. Tomei frightens me because of just how normal she is, yet the situations she creates are not. She could do something as heinous as transform the very people that showed her kindness into monsters, all the while spouting nonsense about how she's finally grown past the feeling of anger at being poked fun at. A wild animal with no counter, no walls to prevent its advance. Tomei will get what she wants no matter the cost, no matter how childish or insignificant the desire, even if the world burns around her. And yeah, that about does it, at least for this video. I was kind of lax in working on this since it's a bit less structured and more broad of a topic than I'm used to covering. There's still many things in media I've left out due to time constraints, so maybe I'll pick this back up next year and I can cover those other subjects in detail. If anything I spoke about resonated with you and you want me to expand or cover anything in this video with its own video, then please let me know in the comments below. Also, if you would, please give my Patreon in the description a once over. I'm trying to do this gig full time, but can't put the effort in until I make enough to satisfy my day-to-day needs. You can get first dibs on viewing content before YouTube, as well as some behind-the-scenes things, and your name in every video, just like this beautiful man right here. A big thank you to Atychiphobia for being a wonderful supporter and believing in me and my work. And with that, my little sassy individuals, I bid you farewell for now. Stay safe and have a very happy Halloween.